shut it off? Thank you. Good evening. We collectively welcome the people in the audience to this organizational council meeting for the council-elect. I call this meeting to order and ask Jennifer Zawatsky to come forward and administer the oath of office to the elect mayor and council.
Good evening. We're now going to invite council to come up one at a time to make their official oaths. We will start with Mayor Fuel.
I, Patrick Fuel, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of mayor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
Councillor Lorraine Bauer.
I, Lorraine Bauer, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
Councillor Terry Cox.
I, Terry Cox, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to the law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
Councillor Melanie Corbeil.
I, Melanie Corbeil, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
Councillor Jason Montgomery.
I, Jason Montgomery, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
Councillor Denise Peterson.
I, Denise Peterson, solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore, so help me God.
and Councillor Bob Sobel.
How to keep this open. I, Robert Sobel, do solemnly swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of councillor for the town of Strathmore. So help me God.
At this time, I would like to call to order the first organizational meeting on this date, October 25th, 2017. And we have the confirmation of agenda. Has anyone got anything they would like to add? Councillor Sobel?
I do not, Your Worship.
Councillor Bauer. I know your first name so well, I'm sorry. It's going to take me a little while to get used to this too, but Councillor Bauer.
I do not, Your Worship.
Councillor Montgomery.
I do not.
Councillor Woodliff.
Oops.
Oops. Councillor Cox. This could be a long 4 years.
I do not, Your Worship.
Councillor Peterson.
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councillor Corbeil.
Nothing, Your Worship.
At this time, we would like to recognize and welcome, we have a guest tonight who
Could I just move the agenda, Your Worship?
oh, sure, thank you. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move.
You've heard the motion, all in favor? Now, we've taken the oath of office. We don't have any delegations tonight, but we do have a guest here. And I would like to welcome Ms. Leela Ahir, who I believe is going to be our MLA for this area. And so if you would like to,
No, she's representing.
she's representing Chestermere. Okay, I see. I'm sorry. But if you would like to come forward and make a quick comment or an address, we'd like to welcome you tonight to our first organizational meeting.
I'm sorry to have my back to you. This is an amazing event. Long before I was elected, I really, really enjoyed coming out to see mayors and councils and being elected. Municipal politics is the heartbeat of our communities. We're so honored to have these wonderful people put their names forward. As we know in campaigns, this is a hard thing to accomplish. So can we give them another round of applause for their tremendous accomplishment? And I wish all of you all the very best in your next 4 years and your endeavors. And I'm not your MLA yet. There's a long path before that will happen. The Boundaries Commissions have potentially given me the privilege of potentially running for you in the future. However, I have a feeling, depending on what happens in the next few days, this could be a very hot ticket. So God willing, and all things being equal, I might actually have the opportunity to represent you. But in the meantime, I'm honored to be here. Congratulations to this magnificent council and for all your work already. Thank you.
And thank you, and I apologize for the confusion as well. I have been under this understanding that they're re-looking at they're looking at the boundaries in our areas, so I do apologize for that. We have no tabled items, I believe. That brings us to number 7, items from administration. And the first item is 7.1, council seating arrangement.
Your Worship, I can speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
It is one of council's duties at their organizational meeting to confirm their seating arrangement for the year. And so I leave this to council for discussion on what they would like to choose.
I'd
like to make a motion.
Councillor Bauer.
May I please make a motion that council confirm the seating arrangement as presented?
Or as we are in, yeah. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? And the motion is passed unanimously, which brings us to item 7.2, the deputy mayor schedule. And is that you again, Ms. Sawatsky?
Yes, Your Worship. Your Worship, each councillor sitting on this council will have the opportunity to serve as deputy mayor. The deputy mayor is responsible for carrying out the mayor's duties when the mayor is not available to do so. When the entire term is split up, each councillor has 8 months to serve as a deputy mayor. Administration has put a suggestion in that council divide the term into 8 terms, and the dates are shown in the report. And this is for council's discussion.
Councillor Sobel.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've presented some information to what was council-elect in regards to this matter, and it's been a topic of discussion amongst previous councils on at least 2 occasions that I'm aware of. And the concern I raise is that the definition of our deputy mayor was simply to fill in for the mayor when required. And quite honestly, there's been a lot of discussion that perhaps the requirements or the responsibilities be expanded a little. So I've presented council with some options. One of which was to remain the status quo, which is exactly as as Ms. Sawatsky indicated. The second option is for changing remain the status quo, but turn this into 8-month periods of time, which is basically, instead of 2 4s, it's an 8-month. And the third one is to actually itemize a number of possible duties for the deputy mayor in either a 4 or 8-month rotation. And I leave it to council to discuss.
Your Worship.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that the presentation before us is the items that Councillor Sobel brought forward about actually putting in place a document or through bylaw, an order that would guide the role of a deputy mayor to make it one that is meaningful. I think it's really positive in terms of allowing this very new council to team build, to allow the mayor to really work with this council in a way that gives both parties power and responsibility to community at this table. So I'm very much in favor of it. And I think that one of the best ways to get the maximum input from every council member that sits here would be to go ahead and designate council appointments for the 8 months, and then ask administration to work with council on a proposed bylaw into the future. And I'd be prepared to make a motion if Your Worship was amenable to doing just that.
So just for clarification, then your motion would be to have the 8-month terms, but come back with
I would
terms of
make 2
reference or a
motions.
job description for that position? You'd make 2 motions?
Is that okay, Your Worship?
Yes, I believe that would be good.
So I would move that council approve the deputy mayor schedule as follows. And I would suggest, Your Worship, that we just go in this lineup if everybody's okay with it. If there's no objection, that we just start with Councillor Sobel. And the reason I say that is that our veteran councillor is a great person to have in the lead in this for the first deputy mayor. I think that would be really, there'd be wisdom in that. And so I would make that my motion. The council approve the deputy mayor schedule as follows.
Sorry, I just have a
Yeah,
quick.
you bet.
Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would there be a more beneficial, or what would the benefit of everybody taking a turn rather than designating one person?
Your Worship?
Councillor Peterson.
So one of my beliefs is that by having everyone take a role, it does two things. It allows that councillor to learn a different level of working and leadership capacity within the council. It allows the community that elected us to see a different level of our capacity to be leaders. And it allows the mayor to work with each one of us in a leadership capacity that lends meaning to it. And then I have a very personal view on, from experience, not on this council, but in working with other political processes, that very often when there's a mayor and permanent deputy mayor, you wind up with a block situation where sometimes it forms an uneven balance of power within the council, and with the mayor and deputy mayor having undue access to an administration that then can inadvertently separate the council from the process. That's a very personal decision. Other people have different views, certainly.
Any other comments from any other councillors? As far as I'm concerned, as far as my comments, if I could add something to the discussion, I agree with Councillor Peterson. It is a great way for councillors to learn, and if we can have admin come back with some set job descriptions or parameters for the deputy mayor to work in, I think it can only help us become a stronger councillor. I think one of the things we identified yesterday in our organizational meetings was that we really want to try to find a way to work as a team and as a group and to grow. So I think this would be a great idea. So are there any other comments? Councillor Bauer?
Your worship, will there be a discussion after the motion is made?
Well, I believe that's when the discussion can occur. We have the motion that's gone, it has been made. It hasn't been made yet. So Councillor Peterson can make.
I was just about finished it.
Okay.
So the council would approve the deputy mayor schedule as follows, following the line, starting with Councillor Sobel, going through to Councillor Cox in this order, and to have that be implemented immediately.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Peterson. And I think, Councillor Bauer, that's part of the question you asked, is once the motion is made, then we can have discussion on that motion. So if you have anything you'd like to add?
I would like to know, Your Worship, if, because the position is changing from being a chair position to being something where they're going to be requested to take a day off every week, or one, perhaps time off, whether or not we need to make any budgetary allowance for this?
I think at this point, we haven't discussed the parameters or what could be coming forward from administration. So at this time, Councillor Bauer, if I could explain or just add to that, we don't have anything that states that there'll be one day a week as far as the deputy mayor position. I think right now we're just at the general concept of an 8-month term with job description to come to us, and that it'll follow the order of this front table. So I think that will come back to us for us to look at a later date. Are there any other comments? Councillor Peterson.
Just to clarify, Councillor Bauer, deputy mayors in their terms of deputy mayor are compensated. There's a different level of compensation.
Councillor Peterson, could you possibly elaborate on that?
There is there not?
I don't believe there is.
A different level? Oh, there isn't?
No. I believe that it's all standard as a councillor compensation. So are there any more comments or concerns or questions? So you've all heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? The motion is passed. And if you're following along in your exciting booklets. Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, I would move that council direct administration to work with council towards creating a bylaw with standards and process and terms of reference for a deputy mayor position for each councillor for the 8-month period as stated previously.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. That's the motion that's in front of us now. Is there any comment or Councillor Sobel?
Just to clarify, would that be a bylaw or a policy?
Your Worship, I would recommend that it be amendment to the procedural bylaw.
Yes. Okay.
Do we need that in the motion then, Ms. Swatsky? Okay. Are there any other comments or discussion? You've all heard the motion. All in favor? Motion is passed. Which brings us to item 7.3, the council meeting schedule on page 4. And I think, council, you've all seen the calendar that's ahead of you, and your Councillor Cox. Councillor Cox.
I move that council approve the 2018 council meeting schedule as presented on the next page.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion of that motion? All in favor of the motion? And the motion is passed. This brings us to item 8, committee reports. We have none at this time. Item 9, items directly related to council. Nothing there. Bylaws, we're good. 11, urgent business. Nope. And we have item 12. Are there any questions between councilors or council statements? Are there any administrative inquiries? And we are not going in camera. There's no motion to go in camera. So I will be looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Corbeil?
Thanks, Your Worship. I move we adjourn the meeting.
You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And that concludes our first organizational meeting of council.